I froze mid-wrench turn when my father walked into my motorcycle shop after 16 years of silence. He looked older, grayer, but that calculating look in his eyes hadn't changed. I'm Mike, 33 now. The 14-year-old boy he'd thrown out with nothing but a garbage bag of clothes now owns 3 custom bike shops and builds engines for championship dragsters. Jenny's husband cleaned out their accounts and disappeared, he said without a hello, eyes fixed on the $200,000 custom chopper I was finishing. Bank's foreclosing next week. He placed his hand on my shoulder, a gesture so fake it made my skin crawl. I know things weren't great between us, son, but $45,000 would save her house. Family helps family. My wife Kristen walked in with our son. Dad's eyes widened. He didn't even know he had a grandson. His gaze darted between my family and my shop, mentally calculating what I was worth. 16 years of rage burned in my chest as I slowly wiped grease from my hands. I remembered dumpster diving for food while he sat in his warm house. Remembered the police officers' faces when they heard what I was accused of. Remembered his back as he closed the door on me forever. Family? I finally said, my voice dead calm. Where was family when your wife accused me of things that would have gotten me killed? When you left me to sleep under highway overpasses? His face went ghost white when I dropped the bomb, who Jenny's real father was. Game over, and I was just getting started. My real mom died from cancer when I was 3. I have only blurry memories of her, soft hands, a gentle laugh, the smell of lavender. Dad was broken after she died, working endless hours at his construction company, leaving me with a rotating cast of babysitters. When I was 6, Dad brought home Beth. She was younger than him by 11 years, blonde, and always laughing. The wedding was small. I was the ring bearer. Beth knelt down afterward and promised she'd be the best stepmom ever. I believed her. At first, Beth tried too hard, making elaborate lunches I didn't eat, buying toys I didn't ask for, hugging me constantly. It was awkward, but seemed genuine. Dad smiled more. Our house felt like a home again. Everything changed when Jenny was born. I was 8, suddenly thrust into big brother role. I was excited at first, but quickly noticed the difference in how Dad treated us. With me, every mistake meant punishment. With Jenny, every achievement, no matter how small, deserved celebration. Why can't you sit still like your sister? Dad would snap when I fidgeted through dinner. Why aren't your grades as good? Why can't you just be normal? Looking back, I probably had undiagnosed ADHD. I couldn't focus in class, forgot homework, and constantly lost things. But instead of help, I got punishment. Jenny got patience. Jenny got understanding. Jenny got love. Beth's treatment changed too. When Dad was gone, which was often, she'd forget to make enough dinner for me. Oops, sorry, Mike. Make yourself a sandwich. My clothes would come back from the laundry shrunk or with holes. Must have missed that stain, sorry. Little things impossible to prove. Subtle enough that Dad would dismiss them as accidents or, worse, my fault. Stop making trouble, he'd say when I tried to explain. Beth's doing her best. The real manipulation was psychological. She'd move my homework, then tell Dad I was irresponsible. She'd break something, then blame me. And Jenny, barely a toddler, became Beth's perfect puppet, coached to say what a mean brother I was. Dad believed every word. Beth had him completely under her spell. But by the time I was 14, our house felt like a war zone to me. Dad worked longer hours to avoid the tension. Beth grew bolder in her subtle torments. I retreated into myself, spending as much time as possible at school or friends' houses. Then came that Saturday in Wilson Park. I was taking a shortcut home from basketball practice when I saw them, Beth and a man named Mark in the old gazebo. Mark was a regular at our house, part of Beth's charity committee. They were kissing like teenagers, all hands and desperation. I ducked behind a tree, heart pounding. Beth must have sensed something because she suddenly pulled away and looked in my direction. I ran. That's when I noticed something I'd somehow overlooked. Jenny, now 6, had reddish-brown hair that matched neither Dad's black nor Beth's blonde, but it was exactly the same shade as Mark's. The pieces clicked into place. I didn't have proof, but suddenly everything made terrible sense. And Beth's eyes when I saw her next told me she knew exactly what I'd figured out. For 2 weeks after seeing Beth with Mark, I lived on edge. Every time I walked into a room, Beth would tense up. Every time I looked at Jenny, Beth would appear out of nowhere, asking what I was doing. I kept the secret, not out of loyalty to Beth, but because I knew exactly how it would play out. Dad would never believe me. He'd think I was lying to cause trouble, and Beth had spent years making sure he saw me that way. One night, I got up for water and heard Beth's whispered voice from the kitchen. It was nearly midnight. I froze in the hallway, listening. "Mark, you need to be more careful," she hissed into the phone. Mike saw us at the park. Silence as she listened. Of course he suspects. He's not stupid. He looks at Jenny differently now. Another pause. He thinks she's yours, but we both know the truth. My heart hammered so loud I was sure she'd hear it. I must have shifted my weight because the floorboard creaked. Beth went silent. "Someone's here. I'll call you tomorrow." I bolted back to my room, mind racing. Beth didn't just cheat. Jenny wasn't Dad's daughter. That explained everything. The favoritism, the protection, the fear in Beth's eyes whenever I got close to Jenny. The next morning, Beth watched me like a hawk. I tried acting normal, but the truth burned inside me. Every time Dad hugged Jenny, something twisted in my gut. He deserved to know. Beth's campaign against me intensified. She'd appear in doorways, startling me. She'd whisper to Dad while staring straight at me. Small items from Jenny's room would go missing, only to be found in my backpack. "I'm worried about Mike," I overheard her telling Dad one night. "The way he looks at Jenny, it doesn't seem right." Dad started watching me too. At dinner, he'd narrow his eyes whenever I spoke to Jenny. When I helped her with homework, he'd hover nearby. When I denied taking Jenny's bracelet, which Beth had planted in my drawer, he called me a liar to my face. 2 weeks after the park, I came home from school to find 2 police cruisers parked outside our house. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I walked in to find Beth on the couch, sobbing into her hands. Dad stood in the corner, face twisted with rage. 2 officers sat across from Beth, one taking notes. They all looked up when I entered. "Michael Evans?" One officer stood. "We need to ask you some questions." They took me to the kitchen. What followed was the most horrifying conversation of my life. "Your stepsister Jenny has made some concerning statements about you," the officer said, face carefully neutral. "She says you've been touching her inappropriately." The room spun. "What? No, that never happened." "Beth says Jenny told her you threatened to hurt her if she told anyone." "That's a lie." My voice cracked. "Beth is lying. She's trying to get rid of me because I saw her cheating on Dad." The officer's expression didn't change. "These are very serious accusations, Michael." In the living room, Beth's sobs grew louder. Theatrical, perfect timing. The officers couldn't find evidence because there wasn't any, but the damage was done. When they left, Dad exploded. "You disgusting liar." He threw a garbage bag at me. "Pack your things, you have 10 minutes to get out of my house." "Dad, please, Beth is lying. Jenny isn't even your..." His hand caught me across the face so hard I tasted blood. "Don't you dare speak about my daughter. Pack, now." I grabbed what clothes I could fit in the bag and my school backpack. When I came back downstairs, Beth stood with her arm around a confused-looking Jenny. "You're sick," Beth whispered, her eyes gleaming with victory. "You need help." Dad opened the front door. "Give me your key. You're not my son anymore." As I stepped onto the porch, I saw Beth's mouth curl into the tiniest smile. Victory. She'd won. "Dad, please." He slammed the door in my face. Just like that, at 14, I was homeless. That first night was a blur of tears and panic. I walked until my feet ached, no destination in mind, just away. Away from the house that wasn't home anymore. Away from the family that believed the worst about me. I slept on a park bench, curled around my garbage bag of clothes. The morning dew soaked through my jacket. I'd never felt so alone. I tried calling friends, but news travels fast in small towns. Beth had already spread her version of events. Texts went unanswered. Doors remained closed. I was suddenly toxic, the kid everyone's parents warned them about. By the third day, hunger drove me to a McDonald's dumpster. I'll never forget the shame of that first dive. The rotting smell, the flies, the moment I found half a burger still in its wrapper and ate it without hesitation. A week in, I discovered the abandoned warehouse near the train tracks. 6 other homeless people lived there. Most ignored me, but one, an older man named Tom, approached as I huddled in a corner. "You're too young to be here, kid," he said, offering me a granola bar. Tom had been homeless for 3 years after losing his wife and job to cancer bills. He'd been an engineer before life collapsed. Now he taught me survival, which restaurants threw out good food, which public bathrooms were safest, how to wash clothes in a sink. First rule, he'd say, maintain dignity. Clean clothes, clean face. The moment you look homeless is the moment they stop seeing you as human. The warehouse became home. A broken pallet became my bed. A milk crate became my table. I kept going to school, showering in the gym locker room before anyone arrived, but rumors followed. Teachers who once encouraged me now avoided eye contact. I tried getting jobs, fast food, car wash, grocery bagging. Each time, the manager would suddenly remember they weren't hiring. Beth's lies had poisoned the entire town against me. One night, I overheard 2 warehouse residents talking. "That Evans kid," one said. "Heard he did things to his little sister." "No way," the other replied. "Beth Evans was at the shelter yesterday collecting donations, said he threatened them too. Families terrified." My stomach twisted. Beth wasn't just content to throw me out. She was systematically destroying any chance I had of rebuilding my life here. For 6 months, the warehouse was my home. I collected cans for recycling money, dug through dumpsters, accepted Tom's generosity. Every day, I hoped Dad would realize the truth and come looking for me. He never did. Tom became the closest thing to family. He'd share food, keep watch while I slept, teach me things a father should. When I had nightmares, which was often, he'd talk me down with his calm voice. "Your life isn't over, kid. It's just beginning somewhere new." I didn't believe him until the night the police raided our warehouse. "Condemned building," they said, giving us 10 minutes to clear out. Tom grabbed my shoulder as everyone scattered. "Listen to me, Mike. I've got a cousin in Riverside. Dave manages restaurants. He'll give you work." He pressed his last $40 and a scrap of paper with an address into my hand. "This town's done with you, and you're done with it. Time to start over." Part 5. Planning the response, new beginning. The Greyhound ride to Riverside took 5 hours. I sat by the window. Tom's $40 and scrap of paper, my only possessions besides the clothes on my back. My garbage bag had been left behind in the raid. Riverside was bigger than my hometown. Busy streets, tall buildings, crowds where no one knew my name or the lies Beth had spread. For the first time in months, I could walk without seeing disgusted looks or hearing whispers. Finding Dave wasn't easy. The address Tom gave me was for Giovanni's Italian restaurant. I slept in the bus station for 2 nights, washing in the bathroom sink, before working up the courage to go there. Giovanni's was upscale, white tablecloths, wine glasses, servers in pressed shirts. I felt painfully out of place in my wrinkled clothes. The hostess eyed me suspiciously. "I'm looking for Dave," I said. "Tom's cousin." Her expression softened slightly. "Wait here." Dave was nothing like Tom. Clean-cut, well-dressed, with a Bluetooth earpiece and a clipboard. He looked me up and down, frowning. "You're Tom's friend?" "He helped me. Said you might have work." Dave sighed. "Dishwasher quit yesterday. You start tonight. $7.25 an hour cash. Don't make me regret this." That night, I scrubbed pots until my hands cracked and bled. When the kitchen closed at midnight, Dave found me sitting outside, nowhere to go. "There's a storage room in back," he said after a long pause. "Cot and a space heater. Not legal for you to stay there, but..." He shrugged. "Don't get caught." The storage room became home. 6 feet by 8 feet, stacked with canned tomatoes and pasta boxes. I worked 7 days a week, saved every penny. After 3 months, I had enough for a security deposit on a tiny room in a shared house. Giovanni's became my education. I moved from dishwasher to prep cook, learning to chop vegetables with precision, to make sauces from scratch. The head chef, Marco, noticed my speed. "Kid's got good hands," he told Dave. "Gonna teach him the line." I threw myself into learning how to sear a steak to perfect medium rare, how to time 5 different orders so they finished together, how to survive in the high-pressure chaos of a Saturday night rush. 6 months in, Dave promoted me to line cook. A year later to assistant manager, handling schedules and inventory. I got my GED, studying nights in my rented room. Life was just work and sleep, but it was mine, my choice, my effort. That's when Amy walked into Giovanni's with her mother. Regulars who came every Tuesday. Amy was in college studying business, her mother a professor at the local university. They always requested my section after I became a server. "The salmon special any good tonight?" Amy asked that first night, looking at me instead of the menu. "Chef's using the wild-caught Alaskan. Best thing on the menu," I replied. Something about Amy was different from other customers. She actually saw me, not just a server, but a person. She asked questions and listened to the answers. One night, Amy was struggling with a business assignment. "This profit margin calculation makes no sense," she groaned. "It's just a numbers game," I said, refilling her water. "Cost versus revenue. The book's making it more complicated than it is." She looked up, surprised. "How do you know about business accounting?" Truth was, I'd been reading the restaurant's books with Dave, learning how margins worked, how pricing affected profitability. "Mind taking a look?" she asked, pushing the textbook toward me. That moment changed everything. During my break, I sat at her table, explaining the concept. Her mother watched with a knowing smile. After they left, Amy had written her number on the receipt with a note. "Tutoring exchange? I help with GED math. You help with business?" For the first time since being thrown out, I felt something beyond survival. Something like hope. Amy became my lifeline to a world beyond Giovanni's. Twice a week, she'd help me with GED math in the restaurant during slow hours. In return, I'd explain business concepts I'd learned from restaurant management. "You have a natural mind for business," she said one night. "Way better than half the people in my classes." For months, that's all it was, 2 people exchanging knowledge. I kept her at arm's length, afraid of what she'd think if she knew my past. My GED test was scheduled for June. I studied obsessively, terrified of failing. The night before, Amy found me nearly having a panic attack in the break room. "What's wrong?" she asked. "If I fail this," I couldn't finish. She sat beside me. "Mike, I've never seen anyone work harder than you. You've got this." She was right. I passed with scores high enough for college admission. Amy brought champagne to Giovanni's to celebrate. Dave let us drink it in the back office after closing. "So what's next?" Amy asked. I had ideas but was afraid to voice them. Dreams seemed dangerous after everything. "You should talk to my dad," she said suddenly. "His company's looking for someone to help manage a workshop. Entry level, but he believes in promoting from within." Her father ran Riverside Motorsports, a custom motorcycle shop that had grown into 3 locations. The idea terrified and excited me. "I don't have experience with motorcycles," I said. "But you understand business operations. The rest you can learn." The interview was the most nerve-wracking experience since my GED test. Amy's father, Richard, was intimidating. Tall, bearded, arms covered in tattoos of engine parts and motorcycle brands. "Amy says you understand profit margins," he said without preamble. "Prove it." I walked him through Giovanni's pricing strategy, how we balanced food costs against menu prices, how we tracked inventory to prevent waste. He listened without expression. "Start Monday, parts department, $15 an hour." Just like that, my restaurant career ended and my motorcycle business career began. Richard became the father figure I'd lost. Gruff but fair, he taught me everything about motorcycle parts, custom builds, and business expansion. When I showed aptitude for understanding engine mechanics, he moved me to the workshop floor. Amy and I grew closer. Our study sessions became coffee dates, then dinner dates. But I still hadn't told her about my past. 6 months into dating, we were at her apartment when she asked about my family. I froze. "Mike?" The whole story poured out. Mom's death, Beth's manipulation, the false accusations, being homeless. I waited for her to look at me differently, to see the broken kid from the warehouse. Instead, she cried, then got angry. Not at me, but for me. How could they do that to their own son? That night changed us. No more secrets. 3 months later, I moved into her apartment. A year after that, Richard offered me management of a new location. The next day, I asked Amy to marry me. We married small, just Amy's family, Dave, and a few friends from work. No one from my past. I'd built a new family, people who chose me. 4 years into managing the shop, I spotted a rundown motorcycle repair garage for sale. With Richard's backing and Amy's business plan, we bought it, turned it into our own custom shop, then added a second location, then a third. Jake was born 7 years after I met Amy. Holding my son, I promised him what I never had: unconditional love, regardless of mistakes or imperfections. Life settled into a rhythm of family and business. Beth, Dad, Jenny, they became distant memories. Bad dreams from another life. Until a Facebook notification changed everything. Friend request from Robert Evans. My father had found me, after 16 years of silence. I stared at the friend request for 3 days before showing Amy. Her reaction was immediate. Decline it. Aren't you curious what he wants? I asked. Nothing good, she said, but I could see she understood my need for closure. I accepted the request. Within minutes, a message appeared. Son, it's been too long. I've been thinking about the past. Getting older makes you realize what matters. Beth and I want to make things right. Jenny misses her big brother. Can we talk? I showed Amy, my hands shaking. What do I do? What do you want to do? She asked. After a week of sleepless nights, I replied. Why now, after 16 years? His response came quickly. I'm 58 now, had some health problems, makes you think about what you've lost. Jenny's going through a rough time. Her husband left, she could use family support. So that was it, they needed something. After several exchanges, I reluctantly agreed to a visit. Amy was skeptical but supportive. I'll be right beside you, she promised. They arrived on a Saturday morning. Dad looked old. Gray hair, slight limp, deep lines etched into his face. Beth looked remarkably unchanged. Still blonde, dyed now, still wearing that fake smile. Jenny had grown up, 25 now, tall and slim with that same reddish-brown hair. Mark's hair. Mike, Dad said, voice breaking slightly as we shook hands. The hug that followed felt stiff, performative. Beth went for a hug too. I stepped back, offering my hand instead. Her smile faltered for just a second. The awkwardness was suffocating as we moved to the living room. Jake, sensing the tension, clung to Amy. Is this your son? Jenny asked, studying Jake's face. I'm an aunt. Her eyes filled with tears. Dad surveyed my home with barely concealed approval, eyes lingering on the framed magazine covers featuring my custom builds. Motorcycles, huh? Never would have guessed. Amy's dad gave me my first real chance, I said pointedly. Beth, always the manipulator, jumped in. We all made mistakes back then. We're here to make things right. Amy excused herself to put Jake down for his nap, leaving me alone with them. Jenny wandered around, examining photos, asking questions about our life. Dad steered me toward my office. Son, he began once we were alone, I need to ask you something important. I braced myself. Your sister's in trouble. Her husband cleared out their accounts before leaving, banks foreclosing on her house next week. I waited, already knowing where this was headed. She needs about $45,000 to keep the house, he continued, just until she gets back on her feet. Family helps family. The audacity stunned me. 16 years of silence, and now this? Family helps family, I repeated slowly. Is that what you were doing when you threw me out at 14, when you left me homeless? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. That was a misunderstanding. You thought I was capable of hurting Jenny because Beth told you so. You never once questioned her, never once looked for me, never once wondered if your son was alive or dead. Mike, that's all in the past. Jenny needs, I cut him off. What about what I needed? A father who believed in me, a home, a fucking chance? Beth appeared in the doorway, sensing trouble. Everything okay in here? I laughed, a sharp sound with no humor. Perfect, Beth. Dad's just asking me to give $45,000 to your daughter. You know, the one who isn't even his. The room went dead silent. Beth's face drained of color. Dad froze. From the hallway, I heard Jenny gasp. And just like that, the secret I'd carried for 16 years was finally out. Part 8, Final Aftermath and Closure. 400 words. They left that day in stunned silence, but the explosion came a week later when Dad got the DNA test results. He showed up at my shop alone, face haggard, holding the paper with trembling hands. 0% probability, he said, voice hollow. 16 years believing she was mine. I felt no satisfaction seeing him broken. Just emptiness where anger had lived for so long. What happened next came in fragments through Jenny's desperate texts. Dad confronted Beth. The argument escalated. In his rage, he shoved her down the stairs. 3 fractured vertebrae. Hospitalization. Police. Charges. Dad got 3 years. His age and previously clean record saved him from worse. Beth's family pushed for maximum penalties, painting him as a monster while conveniently forgetting what she'd done to me. Jenny's wedding imploded when her fiancé learned about the family's drama. Too much baggage, he said before returning the ring. She spiraled, obsessively searching for her biological father. She found Mark already dead, overdosed 2 years earlier behind a convenience store. Another dream shattered. Beth developed an addiction to pain medication during recovery. Her perfect facade crumbled as she bounced between hospitals and rehab facilities. The woman who destroyed my life was now destroying herself. Through it all, Jenny kept reaching out. Unlike the others, she was genuinely innocent, a pawn in Beth's game, manipulated from childhood. After months of texts and calls, I agreed to meet her, just once, at a coffee shop halfway between our cities. I don't remember much from when you left, she admitted. Mom always said you did something terrible, but would never explain exactly what. She lied, I said simply, about everything. Jenny nodded, tears streaming. I'm moving to Colorado next month, starting over completely. I understood that need better than anyone. 6 months after their visit, my family was whole again, just not the family I was born to. Amy was pregnant with our second child. Jake was thriving in preschool. Our 4th motorcycle shop was opening in the spring. I still think about Tom sometimes, wondering if he's alive, wishing I could show him that the homeless kid from the warehouse made something of himself. The past doesn't disappear, it scars over. Some days I still wake up feeling 14 and abandoned. But then I look at Amy sleeping beside me, at Jake's toys scattered across our home, at the life we've built, and I remember. Family isn't who shares your blood, it's who shares your heart. Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family members? Tell me in the comments.